when I was trying cases, and most of the time the lawyers, the defense attorneys were men, although there were a few women in the federal defender's office. And often because I was the newest lawyer on the team, I was trying a case with a more senior lawyer. I did the opening statement, and then you'd start examinations and things like that. And you could just sort of tell the way the men were treating you that they thought you weren't necessarily up to snuff. And I always waited until the right moment in the trial to demonstrate how much I knew. In other words, I wouldn't say that I lulled them into thinking these things, but I knew there was this assumption. But there would always be that moment in the trial when they would be like, oh my God, she really knows what she's doing. And those were always moments that I loved. And so I never sort of resented if I felt any of that sort of chauvinism or that sexism, because I knew I could use it to my advantage. I remember one trial I had. It was a big case. There were I think 14 or 15 defendants in the case. There were 3 prosecutors. I was the middle chair, so I was not first chair, I was second chair. And I was very meticulous and very careful about turning over documents to the defense. Because as a prosecutor, you have to make sure you turn over the witness statements and things that are helpful to the defendant. And I always kept my paperwork in order, had them sign when they took things and that kind of thing. So I had put a witness on, the witness had been cross-examined, and during cross-examination, the witness testified to something that the defense attorney claimed he didn't know anything about. And there was an objection, and I said, oh, Judge, I turned that other statement over to defense counsel when I turned over all the material. And defense lawyer said, oh, no, we've never seen it. We've never seen it. I was able to go right to my notebook, find the sheet where they signed and said they had received the sheet. And that was the end of the objection. And that was really the end of them making frivolous objections when I was up, because they knew I knew what I was doing. So I think you can really turn that to your advantage when people are underestimating you. And I go back to what Connie Motley said, which is don't get angry. Don't get angry. Don't hold a chip, because then your anger will blind you. So I would say that that's where I was underestimated. And then, there were times when I would walk into a judge's chambers and not the judge, but the lawyers sitting around waiting might think I was the court reporter or something like that. The story I love the most is Judge Phyllis Kravitz's story. And she was the 3rd woman appointed to a court of appeals. She out of Georgia. And it was her first oral argument day. And she was at the hotel, and had left the hotel, was in the cab line, and these 2 male lawyers, jumped her in the cab line and said, excuse us, we have to get to court. We have something very important. And she got the next cab, and she took the cab to the courthouse, and then her panel of 3 judges went out, and who got up to argue the second or third case of the day? These 2 lawyers who turned beet red. Now, that was perfect justice. I haven't had a moment like that. And I have always been of the attitude that you cannot really control what people think or how they value you. You have to do the right thing. You have to do your best. And you have to be satisfied yourself with what you're doing, not what other people think, not what other people are telling you. And so even as a judge, because when I went on, I was very young when I went on the bench, and I was a woman, and there had been no Black women appointed in the Northern District of Illinois. And I was actually asked that question when I was interviewed. Well, what do you think it'll be like, Miss Williams? You're young, you're a woman, you're Black. And I said, well, I've been a woman and Black all my life. And as to age, that too will change one day. But if I'm fortunate enough to put on the black robe, there will be no question who runs my courtroom, because I am the judge.